What is up, my friends? I officially am making this video to announce the completion of the first draft of The Lesser One Book 2, Wagner's Right of Way. This is the first time anyone besides my parents have ever heard of this, or... Anyways, I'm going to be sending the book over to my editor after it goes through a beta read round with just my mom. I'm sending it to my mom. She's reading it before I send it off to the editor, my editor. I'm published with a small press called Dingbat Publishing. They're a little bit too small to offer advances as far as I've had. I'm hoping the next one will have an advance attached to it, but if you won't know what an advance is basically the publisher paying you money up front that you then have to earn out through royalties before you start earning money through royalties. For my first book published with Dingbat, I did not get an advance, which is probably for the best, because I doubt that book will sell more than 100 copies in its lifetime. So that's the thing. Being an author, it's a difficult world out there. While you may not know very many authors yourself, there are millions of authors out there. I'd say, I think the statistic is like 1 million books are published a year in English or something like that. I don't know what the real statistic is, but it's up there, like thousands and thousands and thousands of books. Have you ever gone to a library and just looked at the volume of books that are on the shelves and then realized that these books are a tiny fraction of the actual number of books out there? I do that all the time. It's like, holy crap, I'm competing against this when I'm already competing against Stephen King and George R. R. Martin. Now I'm competing with like an entire library full of books, an entire country with libraries of books that are better than mine, hundreds of books that are better than mine. Why would you pay money for a book written by me when you can go grab a very good book by a lesser known author for free at the library? I mean, and that's the problem with being an author. That's why I'm working a second job. I believe that eventually, someday, I will reach a critical mass where I have enough written books, published books, to the point, I'm sorry, I'm wheezing a bit because I worked out hard. Yeah, like, I was gasping at the end of it. Anyways, yeah, I do work out. It may not look like it, but I do. Anyways, so these libraries, they're full of books, thousands and thousands of good books that are probably better than mine. I mean, I put myself in the 99th percentile when it comes to quality of writing. But if there's, say, 10,000 books in the library, let's say 5,000 fiction books in the library, I'm in the 99th percentile. That means there are 50 books in that library. Did I do the math right? Yeah, I did the math right. 50 books in that library that are better than mine, objectively. And you know what? 99th percentile, that's a little bit of a high estimate for me. 98th percentile. So 100 books. The reason why I say 98th is because a professional author once told me I was in the 98th percentile of books. Anyways, so, I'm better than most authors, mostly because I've practiced my craft. I wasn't born better. The first stuff I wrote was horrible. Like chaff, utter chaff. I wish I still had some of my first writings. But I'm telling you, my first stuff was bad. Like, it wouldn't fly under anything. It's just the first 100,000 words I wrote, utter trash. From 100,000 to 1 million, I'm getting better. Now that I've reached almost 1.5 million words written over the course of 16 books plus 2 ghostwritten novels, I'm good because I've spent time. I've spent effort. You can't do something for as long as I have with the dedication that I have. I'd say it takes about 200 hours of work. Let's see. Each book is 80,000 words. I can type 1,500 words per hour. So, 100 hours? You know what? Now that I look at it, it doesn't really look that bad. I mean, people regularly work 40-hour weeks. So if I were to work at my writing for 40 hours a week, I'd be done. I'd put out 2 books a month. But the problem is that writing is difficult to do at scale. Like, my biggest achievement when I'm writing, the highest number of words I've ever hit in a single day is 14,000. Okay, and that was an entire day, waking up to going to bed, type, 14,000 words, which is quite a bit actually. I don't know how many pages that is, but it's quite a bit. And well, I practiced. I've edited. I've written and written and written and written. Writing. I've done it over and over and over again. 16 books. Every single one of those 16 books is full length. 2 of them are almost novellas, but the other 14, full length. And I've only professionally published 1. 5 others are on Amazon right now. So I currently have 6 books on Amazon. 5 self-published, 1 not self-published. The rest of the books I'm keeping in reserve so I can sell them later on. Because after I've self-published 5 novels and no one bought them, I was like, screw this. I'm going to save this stuff for when it won't be drowned in the noise, you know? The noise. So in the end, writing is a difficult craft. It's difficult at the production phase. It's difficult at the ideation phase. It's difficult in the push through phase. It's difficult in the promotion phase. Making a living off writing is my dream because I enjoy writing. I just enjoy it. Doing it every day for the rest of my life, I wouldn't mind. It would be great. In fact, it would be awesome. I would love writing for an audience that finds my books good. You know, if I had an audience of like an actual audience of people who liked my books because I wrote them, that would be great. That would be the best thing. That's what I wish for. I'm a minimalist, okay? I don't want a mansion. I don't want a Lamborghini. I don't want to be like a famous actor or something. Although, here's the thing. I don't care about fame. I don't care about if people know my name. All I care about is making the money so that I can do this full time, so that I don't have to be a wage slave. Although the current job I'm working at isn't too bad, but you know, I don't like being a wage slave, which in this case means working a job just above minimum wage that doesn't really require much effort or input and is very boring at some times and very demanding at other times and just isn't worth it. That's a wage slave. In case you were wondering, I work at a center that assists the development of developmentally delayed adults through the use of horticulture. So that's it. That's what I do. I work at a place called I shouldn't answer it. Although if you look at my previous vids, I was wearing their shirt during one of my videos, so you probably know that already. Anyways, buy my book. Buy my book. If you want a free audiobook code, DM me, comment in the comments, say I want an audiobook code, and I will DM you a code. Because I have 50 codes I want to give away, and I really want to give them away because I really want people to be watching or listening to my books. I got 2 of them, Mac and Dungeons and Diamonds. Mac is about a McDonald's restaurant that turns into a giant robot. And I'm fairly certain that I'm not breaking any laws when I mention McDonald's directly, because I do use the actual name McDonald's in that book, because I think it's parody. I think it counts as parody. I think it counts as parody. I could get in trouble for it, but I haven't yet. And then the other one is Dungeons and Diamonds. It's a game about it. It's an urban fantasy about a world where elves and dwarves and stuff live in the modern world, just like modern people. And there's this dungeon game, a game where people go real life into real dungeons, fighting real monsters and actually dying sometimes for money and fame and glory. And the main character is a girl who is part of a underclass race. I guess in this world, racism is still okay as long as it's directed towards the Elkith, which is what this girl is of a race of. So in this world, racism still exists. Overt racism still exists as an institutional system. And today, I know people might say, yeah, well, racism still exists today, but not in the law. Not in the law. Racism doesn't exist in the law in paper anymore. There are overt racists, but overt racism is treated very differently than how the racism towards my Elkith species is treated in this novel. So the reason why these Elkith are treated with disdain is because of their hair color, which I think is pretty interesting. But in my world, these Elkith are a species with hair that is disgustingly colored. Like, have you ever seen an oversaturated color that just makes you want to go, ugh, like, ugh? Exactly. So my characters, the Elkith, they have hair that is visually repulsive to other species because of its bright color, like bright blue, bright green, and even if you were to, if I were to draw that character, he would appear in real life, or how she would appear in real life, I would want the hair to make you not want to buy the book if you saw it on the cover. You look at the hair and you go, "Oh my God, that's nasty." I think that's how the world works there. So, like these species, the Elkith, the pigment in their, like I said, the pigment in their hair is visually repulsive to other species, which makes them targets for racism. Yeah, that's it. That's the Dungeons and Diamonds. And then Mac is about they battle monsters and AI Stalin and orcs and lightsabers and Sith and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If you want me to do like actual ASMR content like this channel was originally designed to do, tell me. But right now I'm just ranting about my books because I want people to buy my books, because I want to live on the income that comes from my books. I don't want to be rich. I just want to have enough to where I don't have to work in any other job. I don't like working. Working is bad. I don't think anyone likes working. Although, in this case, if I were to become a professional writer, I would like working. Like, I would work for work's sake if my work was writing novels. Yeah, because I already do it. Because writing a book is work, okay? It's not all sunshine and roses. It's work. You got to put your nose to the grindstone when you're working these novels, you know? Nose to the grindstone. It's work. Yeah, like work in the sense that office people do work, you know? Like, I'd say my writing is as mentally demanding as being like a teacher or something, you know? And the main reason why I like writing, I can decide my own schedule. If I want to take 5 minutes off to watch a funny YouTube video, or if I want to do something, I can do whatever I want. It doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter how, as long as I hit my word target for the day, I can do whatever I want. I can like watch YouTube videos for 7 hours out of the 8-hour weekday and then hit my target in 1 hour of furious writing and no one would care. That's the main reason why I want to be a writer, because I can set my own schedule. And as long as I hit my deadlines, as long as I hit my targets, I can do whatever I want. It's as simple as that. Also, I also get to do whatever I want when it comes to writing. Like, the main reason why I enjoy writing so much is because I'm watching a story unfold that I am in control of. That's why I don't outline, because it's like watching a movie where you control every action that the characters take, but the characters are not you, and it still surprises you. So you can still surprise yourself. Like, you're like, oh my God, I really like this character. I wonder what I'm going to make her do. I wonder what I'm going to make this character do. I wonder what he's going to do. I wonder what he's going to do, and I know what he's going to do because I'm going to make him do it. That's why I love writing. I am the maestro of the concert of these characters on sticks, on what is it called? Puppet strings. And I'm the master of puppets, you know, like the Metallica album. Like, these characters, they live in my mind. They're alive in my head. And that's why I like writing, because it's fun. The act of writing, of typing stuff on my keyboard that turns into a story is F-U-N. F is for friends who do stuff together. Exactly. You can try writing too. Writing is easy. Easy to start, hard to master. It's easy to start writing. But when you're 20,000 words into your first book and don't know where to go, that's when it's hard. I believe that most people who try writing start a story and don't finish the damn thing. Finishing a book, I'd say probably like 25% of people who try writing a book actually finish it. Maybe even less, maybe like 10%. I don't know. I'm quoting statistics out of my butt right here, but a very few people who start their books actually finish it. And very few people who write books publish them. Yeah. Sometimes it's just because people can't write. There are people out there who just can't write. They're just unable to write. I believe that the reason why I'm so gifted in the writing portion is because I was taught how to read at an early age. I believe that teaching someone how to read, the earlier you teach someone how to read, the better their literature life will be, the more they will like reading. I was taught reading in preschool, okay? My mom hired a reading tutor for me, and the reading tutor taught me how to read while I was still in preschool or kindergarten. But whatever the case, I learned reading early, at an early age, a very early age. I'd say like a year earlier than most people of my generation. I remember in first grade when we were reading those little books, those little pamphlet books that had like 10 pages. I was like way ahead of the other kids. All of the other kids were like the dog, and I was like, come on, dude, I'm reading like full-on chapter books and stuff. I was the ultimate reader in school. Like, we had a reading contest where you would read a book and take a quiz on the book, and if you passed the quiz, you got points, depending on how long that book was, all right? Here's the thing. The scale they had went from 1 to 400, okay? I got 1,200, 1,290 something, you know? And the second place reader, 350 points. Yeah. And I read. I voraciously read. In high school, I was the kid. I remember an incident where I was in class and I was reading a book under the table because I did that. And the teacher came up to me and was like, "Are you playing on your phone?" And I whipped out my book and I'm like, "I'm reading, motherfucker." I didn't actually say that. I said, "Yes, please don't get me in trouble. I'm reading a book." And specifically it was a book on DNA, and we were in biology class learning about DNA. I can still tell you a lot about DNA, like ribosomes and codons and RNA and mRNA and DNA, and I still understand how the whole DNA system works. It's a very interesting system, DNA, how it works. I'm of the opinion that DNA is a construct of a microspecies. So here's my thought on what DNA is. DNA is a civilization to proteins. So like at some point in the chain between molecule and DNA, there is a patch where sentient molecules exist. Or I think that I don't know. This is just a theory. Probably isn't real. Oh, and lastly, my theory of microscopic reality and macroscopic reality is that it didn't exist until we observed it. So, my theory is that things like the Higgs boson did not exist until it was observed. So, like, before we had the capacity to view cells in a body, they didn't exist. They could have been anything. Or it's the other way around and the world is bottom up. Because here's the thing. We're observers. Observers. And that is a very rare thing in this reality. I'm of the belief that in this reality, observers are very rare. And so what an observer does, an observer takes information from the past and uses it to influence the future. So how I think the double slit experiment works, look it up, double slit experiment, is that time is flowing in two directions, from the future to the past, and from the past to the future. Only we don't see the future to the past timeline. What does see is a light particle. So what the light particle does is when it's, before you shoot the light particle, on the other side where the light particle will impact, that light particle takes the information of whether or not it's motion changed something in the world. So the light goes here, conveying information about the past. And a second particle goes parallel to the first one, carrying information about the future. So if a light particle was observed and caused a reaction in the universe, then the backwards particle will go back in time and tell that particle, hey, you were observed. You made the universe different by your presence. And so that's why the light collapses. It's my theory. Do what you want with it. That's my second video of today. I'll see you guys on Saturday.